Take the money and run.
Coming to you from who knows where, here's a couple of guys who talk sports, bet on sports, and complain about sports. The Better or Worse podcast with Rickshaw, Randy, and Mitch.
Hey, Rickshaw, what's going on, man?
You know, you ride in a rickshaw one time, and,
There it is. Hey,
there you go.
I'll be honest. You're the only one I know that's ever ridden in a rickshaw.
Is that right?
Absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, most people ride in cars. They might pedal a bike. I don't know anybody else that's ever ridden in a rickshaw.
Yeah, actually, it's kind of common around. If you visit the city of New York, they're bicycle rickshaws, but still.
Well, yeah, that's not what you were in, though. You said you were in like an old school where a guy was pulling you with the handles and stuff, not riding a bike. And you said you were on a dirt road and the thing was bouncing all over the place.
Yeah, I want to see that guy in the Olympics, honestly, because I swear to God, there were holes, there was dirt. I mean, it was, there was traffic fumes. I just can't imagine. But he's probably a marathoner. If you watch Mexico's Olympic team when they walk in the stadium tonight, that guy will probably be in attendance.
Well, funny thing is,
see now that's
even more modern.
That's more modern than what I had. Yeah, mine had like two long poles.
Yeah. You had the real, the stuff where they had like people used to fight each other in the old gladiator days.
You're right.
So listen, I'm actually on day number 2 of no coffee. So I had no coffee yesterday, and I got a lot done yesterday.
Well,
I thought I was going to have a lot of withdrawals from it, but no problems yesterday. Feel fine today. Actually, I think I slept a lot better too. So I'm going to see how long I can go with no more coffee. Listen, there's a lot going on in a lot of stories going on. And I think you've dug up some stats. We'll get to your stats when we cover baseball, because I know your stats have to do with baseball. So when we come back after the break, we'll talk about what you want to talk about. But I want to talk about some of the stories. To me, in the last 2 or 3 days, there's a lot of stories coming out. One is around baseball, and the first one today is the announcement of the Guardians. Did you see this?
Oh, I did, and I hate it.
What are we doing? What are we doing? Is it they're trying to keep the same colors and they want to only move two letters around? I mean,
Yeah,
is that what we're doing so people can keep their hats or something? I don't understand it. Like you put a Band-Aid over the first couple letters and then you plug it in.
What does the Guardians in baseball mean anyway?
I don't know. I don't know. It was. I woke up to that and I'm like, I don't want to see this. This is not news. But it's plastered all over ESPN. Like, this is incredible news. It's whatever.
Is this a play on Marvel? I mean, what is it? Is this?
I don't know. They should have gone. You know what they should have called themselves? Just Major League. If we have the Washington football team, they should have just said, we're Major League. Go back to the movie. Bring the movie back into it. Have some fans out there pounding some drums. Just call them Major League. And then, you can go out and get Charlie Sheen or whoever you want to come be an ambassador. Bob Uecker.
I'm thinking, why didn't they just call themselves like the Tribesmen or something like that, which takes out the ethnic part of it, because there's tribes all over the world, right? So why not just be the Tribesmen, and then you can keep the tribe and all that stuff that they had instead of just this. How much did they pay the firm that came up with this ridiculous idea? My God, was it a bunch of kindergartners with crayons?
There's a wasted.
My Lord,
wasted budget right there.
Craziness.
So I thought there's another story that's been happening for the last 2 or 3 days, and it's very interesting in baseball. It's that Mercedes guy from the White Sox who lit it on fire. He came out, he had 8 hits in his first 8 at-bats. He's a rookie. He's an older rookie. But he's also the guy that hit the 3-0 pitch over the fence when it was like a 13-run game. Remember we had that conversation about the guy that swung at the 3-0 pitch, hit over the fence. La Russa came out and had, said, listen, if you get thrown at, it's on you. And so he didn't really have his back in that. And it caused a little dissension in the White Sox. But he's really gone in a tailspin down since then. And he got demoted to like AA. And then he came out and he's on Instagram and he said he was going to retire. And then the next day he came right back and says, I'm back. Is there a mental aspect of this starting to show on this guy that this guy might need some help? I mean, he said back in the day that he wasn't going to listen to Tony La Russa and change the way he plays. He's a rookie, and this was one of the problems that I had back then when he said this, is that, you're playing for a guy that won some World Series and managed some World Series teams, and he knows how to get you there. Now he's down in Double-A, threatening to retire, coming back the next day and saying, I'm back. If you're the White Sox, how are you sitting there thinking this is a safe guy to bring back into our clubhouse? We're in first place, getting ready to make a run. Is this the guy we want in our clubhouse right now? You see you follow me on this? What would where would your thoughts be if you're a White Sox fan or you're the GM of that team?
Yeah, no, I'm all about big boy ball, right? So if I want these players to come in and be professionals. Yeah, do I like this? No. Would I let it change my moves? No, I don't think I would do that either. Right? I think it's one of those things where you just tell the guy, hey, you pull it in the office and you say, look, you got to grow up for the sake of this team. We're in first place. We got a lot to play for here. You got a lot to play for here. Suck it up, big boy, and let's go.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's a pretty big fall. I mean, he was Rookie of the Month in April. Lightning on. I mean, he was the talk because he filled in for Jimenez, remember they lost Jimenez. He came in and filled in for him and did a great job. I was shocked to see that he was sent down to Double-A, and then I saw how quickly his numbers declined. So I want to, I'll follow his career for the rest of the year and see how that goes. But that's a team that's hot, playing well, and I think he hurt his chances on getting back to the big league team by doing that. Right. I think it might have been a personality thing that got him demoted in the first place. And something else just popped right now. I'm just seeing just literally 10 minutes ago. So MLB is going to practice with electronic devices to signal pitchers from catchers. They're practicing allowing digital signals going from the catcher to the pitcher somehow. I don't know if it's something like Altuve had in his chest, and maybe they put it on there. I don't know, but they're trying.
It's got to be where he hits a button and it's audio to the pitcher. I'm guessing. I mean, it's got to be like
though.
Bluetooth.
Wouldn't it be easier if it's audio for someone to hear it? Your batter to hear it? I mean, they're doing it. They're trying to alleviate people stealing signs.
Well, and maybe like the catcher presses the button 1, and then the pitcher hears fastball. Yeah. And then. But the problem is you still got to move the glove to where you want the ball thrown. And I don't know. I don't see how that works, but it's an interesting concept. I mean, the game's getting more and more technical all the time. I'm not surprised by this move. No, but it's also getting worse, in my opinion. The game is getting worse, not better. And it seems like they're looking in all the wrong spots. Listen, if you want fans in the stands, number one, you need to be promoting Mike Trout more. If you look at the NFL and you look at the NBA, every decade they have a GOAT conversation. They have a who's the greatest of all time. Is this guy? Let's not forget, in the late 90s, early 2000s, there was Kobe to Michael Jordan. Kobe got older. For a brief time, it might have been Durant. We started talking about Curry was the greatest point guard of all time, but it was always then they moved to LeBron James. NFL, don't forget, we had Montana as the leader over Elway, and then here came Peyton Manning and Tom Brady, and for a little while it was Peyton Manning, but now it's because of his Super Bowls. Those two sports have been elevated because marketing, because people are always talking and watching. In baseball, and in hockey, you don't get it. In hockey, the greatest of all time, now the conversation still revolves around Wayne Gretzky, and outside of Mario Lemieux, you haven't had any more conversations. Declining attendance. The marketing machines in baseball and hockey are not as good as the marketing machines and concepts in the NFL and NBA. I think Major League Baseball is looking in all the wrong directions right now. The declining attendance and the declining viewership has nothing to do with whether or not Altuve had something in his chest, has nothing to do with the pine tar, has everything to do with paying guys $300 million and not promoting them, and actually allowing guys out there, 5 guys on a team, to hit 200. It's just not as exciting. There's no management. There's no managing the game. There's no strategy. There's no small ball. I actually think people like small ball. I think people like strategy in sports, especially in baseball. So I think they're just looking at all the I agree with all that. I agree that strategy has left the game. There's no question about that, and that I think the more enhancements you make to the game, I think that's one step away from the traditional thing, which draws a lot of fans to the stadium. So,
Yeah, if they
I
want
agree.
technology, listen, we talked about this about a month ago when I was in New York, we ended up in a casino and they had tag on TV. They have this other game on TV where you hit a ball against like a trampoline and it bounces off a trampoline and it bounces up and another guy's got to hit it down off that trampoline thing. So stop trying to change what you have. The new stuff that's coming out is going to be new stuff that's coming out. You should stick to what got you there, what made you what America loved. And that's, base stealing, hit and running, some home runs. But overall, there was a game the other day, Cincinnati. So Cincinnati was tied 10-10, 4-4 in the 10th. They had a guy on first and a guy on second with nobody out in the bottom of the 10th. First and second, nobody out, tie game. They just need one run. They had a 157 hitter up there in the 8th spot, Suarez. They let him swing away. He hit into a double play. I was scratching my head as to what the heck are you guys doing letting this guy swing away? He's a 157 hitter.
Another guy who makes your manager of the year list.
Buddy Bell. I mean, these guys, that's why you're losing viewership. Right. And now actually what we've seen is baseball now is saying next year they are going back to – they're getting rid of that runner on second. I think they're getting rid of the runner on second in the 10th inning, and they're getting rid of the 7-inning games for extra innings. That's actually a step in the right direction. I think that's the step in the right direction. All this technology crap, I think stop it. I think just stop it. Because I think people like seeing guys hit 280, a bunch of guys hitting 280, one or two guys hitting 50 home runs, and old school ball. I think people would like it.
Yeah, agreed.
In strategy.
Yeah.
So baseball to me is it's not being led the right way. Where NFL and NBA, which are dominating right now, obviously there's two major sports, they're marketing the way they market. They grab a player and they push him up in the clouds. That's what they did with LeBron. It's what, obviously it's taken some time for Tom Brady, but they're finally starting to accept and push him into the clouds. And it just brings people to the game. I really do believe you need those marketing pieces.
Yeah. So did you watch the movie Moneyball? Did you watch that movie?
Absolutely.
With Brad Pitt? Did you like the movie?
I thought the movie was well done. I don't like I understood the concept. I understood that he replaced Jason Giambi with 3 guys worth of money to equal those stats. His 3 guys' stats would equal what Giambi and 2 other guys' stats. So I understood that concept. And he had to do that. He has to do that based on where he plays and the amount of money that they play with. But that's not the case in LA. That's not the case in New York. That's not the case in Boston.
Well, yeah, yes. Two out of the 3 there are first place teams. You're right. But so I took some time out to look to see where the teams in the standing stood compared to their payroll, and there are some very surprising results. You want to hear it?
Yeah.
Okay.
What do you got?
So the Dodgers, obviously one of the best teams in baseball, have the highest payroll in baseball at $152 million a year. Okay, but if you go down to the first place teams, the Mets, the Boston Red Sox, the White Sox, the Houston Astros, Milwaukee Brewers, and the San Francisco Giants, the Boston Red Sox have an annual payroll of $28 million compared to the LA Dodgers $152.5.
Wait a second. Hold on. Say that one more time because that can't be correct if I'm hearing it right.
Oh yeah, I'm looking at it online right now.
You're telling me, did you say 28 million or 128 million?
I'm sorry, it's 128 million. Yes.
Okay. All right.
But listen to this: the White Sox, who are also in first place, their payroll is only 30 million. The Mets, who are in first place, their payroll is only 79 million. The Houston Astros payroll is only 57 million.
Are you including in the Mets Bobby Bonilla? They keep paying every year.
Their total.
They pay him every year for nothing.
Every player on their current roster, right?
Right.
And San Francisco, 58 million. So 1/3 of the payroll of the Dodgers. And you know who had the second highest payroll in baseball? Take a guess.
Padres.
No, the New York Yankees. And you know what?
They have a higher payroll than the Padres, who have
yes,
two guys
they do.
$30 million a year.
I don't know. I can tell you where the Padres are. Maybe. Hang on.
Padres have 2 guys at $30 million a year. They got Machado and Tatis, right?
The Padres are not that high up the list. Let me see. Am I missing it? San Diego. Oh yeah, San Diego.
Diego's got that
They have
pitcher from
eighth.
Tampa.
They have the 8th highest payroll.
Oh.
Yeah.
So, of those stats, obviously the one that sticks out. So the one that sticks out to me is the Giants. Again, I'll go back to I don't understand how they're doing what they're doing. The Giants are phenomenal. So, what is your take on that? Because first of all, the Dodgers are missing half their pitchers. They have one that's they've got to have to cut because he's an idiot. I don't know if you saw Bauer's new Instagram post, but he's an idiot. They need to take his phone away from him.
Yeah.
The shit that he just did. They got a bunch of guys hurt. I don't think Betts is playing right now. I don't think he played yesterday. I know that Bellinger's in and out. I know they got a lot of money that's not playing. I know that. I don't know, but if you take away the money for the Dodgers that's not playing, my guess is even if you subtract that money from their payroll is still going to be a lot higher than the Giants' payroll.
Well, when I look at the stats here, they also show injured reserve payroll. They show a few things in here. So there is a lot of money on the injured reserve list for some of these teams. I'm thinking who right here, 68 million for the LA Angels, for example, is on injured reserve.
Trout and Rendon. And Rendon aren't playing.
Right. Yeah. So but my point here and looking at this is that the spending of the dollars doesn't necessarily correlate to wins. It's proved with the Yankees, the teams that are, Philadelphia's got a high payroll. Believe it or not, the Washington Nationals have a high payroll. There's a number of teams in that have really high payrolls that aren't winning, and the New York Yankees are one of those teams as well. And that you can be competitive in Major League Baseball with a lower payroll, and that money ball is a real thing.
So what I think your payroll has to match the style of your manager and the way that you're going to approach the game. I think some teams they have these major payrolls, but it doesn't approach. So if you're the Angels, you have no money, and you've got wasted money in your starting pitching staff. And to me, I don't care how good Ohtani is as a pitcher, I wouldn't have him pitching. I'm not going to have Ohtani pitching. I'm taking a chance on him throwing, getting Tommy John in his elbow, and then you lose maybe a chance to have. They literally, when they have Rendon and Trout back, they have 3 of the top 10 hitters in baseball.
Yeah, don't do that. Don't do that where you guys can't play because you're afraid they're going to get injured. I hate 100%. That philosophy.
Why would you allow Ohtani to pitch when you have a horrible pitching staff?
Well, and if in that example, why would you allow him to slide into second base or slide into home, right? Because you don't want to get him hurt? Come on. We got to play the game. Play the game.
No, not with a pitcher. Well, why do you have a pitcher out there trying to throw curveballs when he's the best hitter? He's one of the best hitters in baseball. I disagree with that. He's one of the best hitters in baseball. You built your team around hitting, not pitching. That's obvious. Trout, Rendon, and Ohtani, right? You built your team around hitting. You didn't build it around pitching. That's the problem. The Yankees right now are built around
players
hitting.
Play. Yeah,
the Yankees are built around trying to hit home runs. They went out and they got Stanton, paid him an ungodly amount of money. They got Judge, ungodly amount of money. They got Sanchez that can't catch, and he has to hit. And they got Vaught. They got 4 guys that hit home runs, strike out an immense amount of time, but now they have no money for starting pitching, middle relief, or closing. So you have to pick, and that's the problem with these $300 million contracts is you're basically saying, I have to now have 2 other players around this person on this side of whatever I'm doing. Am I playing pitching or am I playing offense? And that's where our money has to go. You don't see balance anymore in the way that teams are constructed. It's usually one side of the ball or the other. Usually, it's usually offense or defense. With the Giants are an anomaly. Again, this is an anomaly. When I went back and looked at it, they're actually missing their whole infield. They're not just missing 4. They're missing their whole infield because La Stella has been out most of the season, and he's their second baseman. So they're doing everything they're doing with backups out there, which to me is amazing because you just mentioned $58 million. And of that $58 million, my guess is 50% of that is on the injured list between those 4 players because they have Posey and then a bunch of other guys that they're not paying a lot of money to that are doing this and crushing the Dodgers and beating the Dodgers and the Giants. So again,
that's the other thing about a big payroll is you get, like you said, you get a couple of your stars hurt, You
You're
know,
done. There's no depth.
and you've spent so much money on those guys that your season's over. Yeah, that's why I kind of like the Moneyball philosophy, where you have a bunch of guys. If a guy goes down, you don't miss a beat. You just keep going. And so
Well,
I
listen,
just wanted to bring that up because I found that fascinating.
Listen, the guy was very intelligent, and when you watch the movie, he took the guy out. I think out of Cleveland. I think the kid was in Cleveland at the time, and he was like, "Hey, listen, I like the way you think. Come with me." And he got the guy over to Oakland. But what he's been able to do to keep that team. Have you ever been to a game in Oakland?
No.
It's actually not entertaining. It's not a fun ballpark to go visit. It's not like you walk out of there saying, "Hey, this was a great time," because literally you can't. It's in the middle of a bad area of the city. There's nothing to do around the stadium. It's not like you can go to a bar, have food ahead of time, then go into the stadium. You go in and you sit in a stadium that still had concrete seats, old school, where you're almost like a high school football stadium used to be. And then you leave, and when the game's over, you leave. It's not entertaining to go to those games.
Yeah,
they struggle. It's not football. Football is entertaining for 3.5 hours. It gets rowdy. Baseball is a different environment. You have to be creative with giving the fans more than just the 3 hours on the field. I mean, you're starting to see it in different places. You got guys running around the outfield trying to beat some guy in a suit in Atlanta. You go to Atlanta's ballpark now, night and day. It's all about entertainment. You go have a good time, whether your team wins or lose, you had a good time. It's not that place with the A's. So that's why that Moneyball thing to me was very impressive. This guy's been able to do it year over year. He's got great scouts because he always had good pitching. He was always able to find the good pitchers and get 3 or 4, maybe 5 years out of them at the start of their career and get great numbers, and then he'd lose them. He lost Mulder. He lost another guy, I think, to the Braves. But he lost a lot of those guys, and he kept replenishing them with that Moneyball. So that was very impressive, the way he did it. But I think Cashman has been the beneficiary of Steinbrenner's. I mean, listen, when you have that kind of money, when you have that kind of guy behind you that says, I want to win, it's kind of easy to go out there and make pitches and get the best guys, right? It's easy to go out there and attract that and try to build championships. What Billy Beane did was much more impressive than what Cashman ever did to me. That's my
total agreement. That's that's the way I feel about it. I root for the guys with the lower payrolls. I got to tell you. So.
Hey, listen, I am more convinced today than I was 2 days ago. When we were on the show 2 days ago, the Giants just came off a crushing loss in the 9th inning. They gave up a 2 or 3 run home run to lose the game, in which they were up 6-1 to the Dodgers, their rivals. They came back the next day, Wednesday night. They won the game in the 9th inning. They came from behind and won. They did it again last night. They came back again last night in the 9th inning with all these guys on the bench. It, to me, is an amazing story what that team is doing. Like you said, what is it, $58 million? Is that what you said, $58 million for them?
Which team?
The Giants.
$58 million, yeah.
And they're beating teams like the Padres. I'll go back into the Padres, where they've just crushed themselves. They're taking themselves out. They should have made their move when the Dodgers and the Giants were hurt. To me, the Padres season's over because the Giants are going to get a lot better. The Dodgers should get better as they get healthier.
I was wrong. I was wrong on the Giants. It's $93 million.
So $93 million.
But still.
And then do you have the stat of how much of that right now is with Longoria, Belt, Crawford, and LaStella?
Well,
I'm going to assume half of it. I would say $45 million is going to Longoria, Belt, Crawford, and LaStella.
Oh, that's a good guess. It's $40 million.
Is it $40 million? Okay. So there you go. That's what's impressive. Now you're seeing what the Giants are doing against what the Padres are doing, what the Dodgers are doing. To me, that's very impressive. And listen, you got to give props to the guy. I made a joke opening day about Tony La Russa shouldn't be guarded because it was the worst baseball game I'd ever seen, the opening White Sox-Angels game. What he's done this year, having that team in first place, having that team have and in places like New York and places like LA, it probably makes it even harder, because the expectations go through the roof and the fans are quicker to jump on the players and probably make things worse. So a lot of things going on in baseball, but that's a pretty good analogy. Uh, Listen, some other things are coming out, and I want to cover these real quick before we get to our commercial. First of all, the NFL has announced that teams will forfeit now. So the NFL is announcing stuff. The college football is announcing stuff that if you don't have enough players and you can't make the game, you're going to forfeit the game because of COVID. This is utilitarian. This is a dictatorship. How the hell have we gotten to the point where employers can say, "Oh, you're losing pay if you don't put a sickness in your body"? There's no stats. There are stats that say people are getting sick from the COVID shots. There's no stats that said it actually prevents someone from getting COVID or from dispersing it to other people. And now you have leagues and employers telling people you have to have COVID shots or you're going to be basically suspended and without pay. That's what you're doing to NFL teams. I can't get with that. I can't get with the fact that college.
We've done that.
College.
We've done that throughout history. Kids can't go to school unless they have all their shots. Your dog can't go to a dog park unless he has all his shots. Right?
Shots that have years of data. Shots that have years of data. Shots that have years of data and that actually have proof work. There are plenty of people right now
when Louis Pasteur rolled out the polio vaccine, they didn't go through 30 years of trials. They tried it on human beings. I mean,
what was the age demographic that was getting affected? Listen, what we saw with COVID was that it was certain demographics that were getting affected. So to tell a healthy 25-year-old person you have to put this in your body is wrong. Completely wrong, because it wasn't the 25-year-olds that were dying from COVID last year. We lost a lot of people from COVID, but all of a sudden we didn't lose anybody from the flu.
Right.
Okay. So listen, I can't get with BC having their one football player that wouldn't take the COVID shot. He transferred. I don't, what message are we teaching people now? I don't know. It's not the right message. It just shows you more and more that college means next to nothing now. College isn't.
I don't disagree with you that they shouldn't be forced to take the shot. I think that should be a personal choice, especially in the situation that we have today with COVID. But on the other hand, it's fair for a university to say, look, we've made the decision that if you don't, or the NFL, if you don't take the shot, then maybe you ought to go elsewhere. I don't see the problem with that either.
Pay them their full contract.
Yeah.
That wasn't the right when they signed the deal. That wasn't, I'll guarantee you that's not in their contract.
I'll guarantee it's in their contract that there's certain protocols that they have to follow where the team
not
is
a chance
concerned.
in hell that it ever said there's a pandemic, you have to take a shot or you will.
No, it's more general language than that. But there's a catch-all clause in there, I promise you.
I've seen contracts and I can guarantee you there's nothing close to that. It has to do with behavior, attitudes, behavior, putting yourself in jeopardy with like playing sports or riding dirt bikes. There's those clauses when you injure yourself and you're doing something dangerous outside of the sport. There is nothing that says that you have to go get this or go get that, or no, that will not be in any clauses. Not a chance.
Well, then if that's the case, we're going to see a million lawsuits, but I bet we don't see them.
I bet we do. There's a million lawsuits. You might be right. We don't see the majority of lawsuits that go against the NFL anyway. A lot of that's done behind closed doors because they don't want that stuff leaking out. So there's a lot of lawsuits going on right now from former players and all kinds of stuff that go on against the NFL. My guess is that will be added to that list. Another thing that's coming out is, what do you think of this? What do you think of Texas and OU wanting to jump from the Big 12 into SEC?
I think that's a glimpse at the future. I think the super conferences are coming. And I think there's going to be 3 or 4 of them ultimately, at least in the next 50 years. And that I think this is a first step in that direction. I'm not surprised by it at all. In fact, I know that the Big Ten talked to Texas and Oklahoma a couple of years ago, and we're trying to get them to come to the Big Ten. They've been trying to get Notre Dame to the Big Ten forever. Notre Dame doesn't want to be in the Big Ten. They want to play in the ACC because it's an easier walk for them. But
do you think there's not going to be a Big 12 anymore? You think it's just going to be disbanded, or do you think they'll pull up some of these smaller schools and call that the Big 12?
Well, I think when Nebraska left the Big 12, and I forget there was another team that left the Big 12 a while back. I can't remember who it was, but
Colorado.
I think was there you go, Colorado. So I think when those teams started to leave the conference was already in trouble. I think it was just a matter of time at that point. And so I'm not surprised. What I'm surprised by is that I always thought Texas might try to go independent because they have the Longhorn Network. They make a lot of money on their own. They don't really need the conference. I'm surprised by that play, but again, I think that's a step in the direction that they're looking at the crystal ball and saying, super conferences is going to be where it's at. Let's pick where we want to go, and let's make a deal. Let's make the first deals, because the best deals are going to be the first deals.
Do you think this has to do with expanding playoffs? Do you see that more teams would come from the SEC? If there's, say, there was 12 playoff spots, you can almost predict if there was 14 SEC teams, that 4 or 5 of them would be in that playoff. I think that's what the move is. I think it's because you don't see teams going from the Big 12 right now. I think it has everything to do with the credibility of having 1 or 2 losses. You can go through the SEC and have 1 or 2 losses and still make that playoff. You can't go through the Big 12 and have 1 or 2 losses and make that playoff. I think it has everything to do with the ability to make those playoffs based off of the conference that you're in with a loss or 2.
Your argument is two-sided. So I think if they go to a 12-team playoff, for example, that Texas and Oklahoma are better served staying where they are, because they have better chance of winning the conference or finishing second in the conference than going to the SEC and finishing second. I mean, the numbers alone dictate that, right? I mean, you got to beat Alabama, you got to beat LSU, you got to beat Auburn, you got to beat Georgia. None of those. I mean, Oklahoma might be able to compete with those 4 teams, but Texas can't right now. So
what would happen then? What would we see? Would we see SMU jump into the Big 12 and you'd see, gosh, I don't know, Tulsa jump into the Big 12? Would a regional kind of thing?
What you might see is a new conference form for some of these teams like Central Florida and SMU, and some of these teams that have in the past performed well enough to be in the playoff, just didn't learn in the right places. I could see another conference coming into play of also Rands and headed down that path.
Well, it's not as big of a deal for travel when you talk football, but travel in basketball has a huge cost, right? Because you play 2 games, you got to go on the road, then on the road. So even we all think about this realignment for football, but you got to look at the cost for the realignment for basketball. Because when you start making trips, if UCF has to then jump out to Tulsa, Oklahoma twice a year, or all of a sudden you start doing cross-country trips. It's the problem that I saw with, I think it's West Virginia. Is West Virginia in the Big 12 now? West Virginia's in the Big 12, right? They went from the Big East to the Big 12, and that is a problem. That creates a big cost for college basketball travel. So I don't know. I think there's a lot of things that go into this, but to me, I think this coincides right away with all of a sudden the expansion of the college football. I think we started hearing about it immediately after the expansion of the college football playoffs, and I think that has a big play and big factor in this. Yeah. So I'm in the one that's going to get hurt. We heard all day yesterday, Texas A&M is adamantly against it. They want to be the sole representation in the SEC.
Of course they do.
Texas.
Right.
So
it works to their recruiting, right? I mean, not because you get to say that you're an SEC team, come play in the best league, and you bring 2 more teams in. You don't say that anymore. I can see that's a big problem for Texas A&M.
Yeah. So listen, according to what that athletic director, I caught his interview yesterday, and according to what he said that all the teams in the SEC, when they come in, they have the chance to veto new members coming in. And he said he was going to hold his position firm. Now, he didn't say whether it just takes 1 veto to cancel that or whether it's a majority vote. I don't know. But I don't know what's going to happen there. I could see someone like Leach. I could see someone like Leach voting no way. Mississippi State, no way. We don't want Texas and Oklahoma coming in here. We're doing our best to get up to that 4th or 5th, 4th or 3rd spot in the SEC. We don't want more competition.
Right. And Texas is our recruiting ground. Now, all of a sudden you bring in the number 1 team in Texas to be our competitor. No, thank you. Right.
Yeah. I just don't see, man, I don't see, I can't see Saban. I can't see any of those guys saying, yeah, let's bring these guys in.
Right.
I think the only one would be the commissioner of the league, but the commissioner of the league has to be overruled by athletic directors, and the athletic directors are definitely listening to their coaches, and their coaches can't be with this. There's no way their coaches can be saying, yeah, we want Texas and Oklahoma coming in here. No, leave them in the Big 12. We're dominant now. I think we're good. So this is going to be an interesting play. I want to see how this all plays out, but I think it's going to play out pretty quick. I think we're going to get our answers over the next 2 months. I don't think this is something that's going to be dragged out for 2 years. I think we're going to get our answers. And if Texas and Oklahoma don't like their answers, I think there's going to be some recruiting by the Big 12 to maybe go get maybe a Pac-12 team. I don't know. I think there's going to be some, like you said, some tectonic shifts here, and but I don't think me personally, I don't see Texas and OU ending up in the SEC.
Right.
That would be my personal opinion.
Right.
Hey, listen, I know you love golf, and something just popped up today, and I'm like, what? So I saw this. A girl in a major, and her name is a weird name. It's Lee. And then the number 6.
Oh, Lee 6. Yeah.
Lee 6.
Yeah.
She just shot the lowest round ever in a major for both men's and women's. Did you see this?
I did not, but I'm a big fan of Lee 6.
I believe she shot a 61. I just saw the story. I believe she shot a 61, and it's the lowest score in a major, and it's the lowest 4-round total. I think she just beat Kate's 4-round total of the lowest in a major. What is this Lee 6? Does she have the same name as 6 of her sisters or something? What is Lee 6?
So Lee is a very common name in Korea, right?
Yeah.
And so when she entered a tournament in Korea, when she plays in Korea, there's typically 6, 7, 8, 10, 12 girls that have the same name as her.
Okay.
I mean, exactly. It's like, I think it's Minji Lee. And they all, so what they started doing was naming them, right? Like 1 through 12. Anyways, hers was 6. And so she uses it as a marketing ploy in the States now. And so it's all about marketing.
Is she pretty good golfer?
She's
overall?
very, very good. Very
Is
good.
she
Very
the
good
number 1 golfer?
No. Right now, Nelly Korda, Peter Korda's interesting. His daughter. He's got 2 daughters that play on the LPGA tour. Nelly and Jessica. They're both on the U.S. Olympic team. Nelly's number 1 player in the world, but I think Lee 6 is in the top 5.
I also just saw a highlight, and I think it was recent, where a girl made a long putt to tie a girl and going to sudden death in a playoff, and this was in a major, I think. And then she chipped in from like 80 yards off the green to win it. Are you familiar with this? That just happened?
I'm not familiar which one it happens, but I tell you what, do you watch ladies golf?
I don't.
Ladies golf is fantastic. They don't hit it as far as the men, but their short games are razor sharp. And it's very, I watch it all the time. I'm very much a fan of the LPGA tour. Go ladies.
I know that they play one of their big tournaments in Moon Valley Country Club, which was around the corner from my house in Phoenix. I know they play there quite a bit. I think they do it every year. So that's the only thing I really knew. I know they played at Moon Valley Country Club. But anyway, all right, let's take a quick break. We're going to come back. We're going to talk baseball again. Let's take a quick break real quick. We got to run this commercial, and then we'll come right back. So the funny thing is, the other day I was thinking about that when we had Matt on the other day, and he's the Buckeye fan. And as I was sitting here, I didn't really chime in because don't forget, Randy, ASU does get the best of Michigan when we play in football. So we do hold that edge too. But Matt, I kept my mouth shut because Matt's Ohio State Buckeyes still holds the greatest victory over ASU. The worst loss in ASU football history was the '97 Rose Bowl, because we would have won the national championship. But yeah, we did beat you in the '86 Rose Bowl. So we still hold the edge over you in football, and we appreciate that '86 Rose Bowl victory. But anyway, listen, let's jump into some baseball.
I'm checking your stats once again here. I think you're full of it. Okay.
'86 Rose Bowl. Jeff Van Raphorst, quarterback, ASU.
You might have won 1 game. I don't doubt that part. Another thing I'm gonna come back at you on.
Mm-hmm.
I'm coming back here. But keep going. I want to hear the
Oh,
rest
I was
of
getting
your-
ready to talk baseball, but what do you got?
Let's go with baseball. I mean, I can't believe we're not talking Olympics. That's what I can't believe. Tonight is opening ceremonies for the Olympics, and there's all these great sports, and I know, and you love some of these sports, like golf, for
Yeah, I
example.
just got a problem with everything else I'm seeing. I'm tired of the politics. I'm tired of these athletes. They represent countries. They represent the country. They're there to represent the country, and for them to spit on that country, I'm against it. So I'm not going to root for them.
Don't punish the cow for what the pig did.
Yeah, probably right. But it's just my choice. I'm not going to watch them. But listen, baseball is going on. The big story to me, again, I keep talking about this, is the Giants based off what they did the last 2 nights. And that payroll that you talked about, all the guys that are injured, they're at home. The funny thing is, they're at home. They have 9 extra home games to play than road games. Bettors, take a look at the Giants. They're going to be at home. They have 9 more home games. If you bet the Giants every game the rest of the season, you will end up winning money. They are going to be a winning play. They've got Cueto at home, which is a scary pitcher, but they're at home. Take them. So what do you like today in baseball?
Well, on sport hitters, I jumped in a challenge, and there's 3 games that I really liked. I took the Cubs today, getting 8.6 points over the Arizona Diamondbacks. Diamondbacks are on the road. We've talked about that a million times. They suck on the road. The pitchers are non-factors, but the 8.6 points I thought was compelling there. So I took the Cubs. Like the Cleveland Indians tonight, 10.35 points over Tampa Bay. Pitchers haven't been announced, but it doesn't matter. The game's at Cleveland. Like that game. And then Yankees got Garrett Cole on the mound tonight against the Red Sox.
Where's that game at?
They're on the road. They're at Fenway. But 10.25 points was compelling there. I like the value in that game.
Yeah, they came through for you the other night, didn't they? Wednesday night?
Yeah. Did I have them?
You had plus 180. I think they were plus 180.
Oh, yeah, I had the 180.
Yeah.
And not only that, but I had parlayed that game with the over and had done very well in that game. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
came through for you.
I think my $100 bet paid $650.
So it's a good play. It's very good value.
Yeah,
very good play.
$650 in the parlay. So nice. Yeah.
So listen, today I obviously 2 things match up for me. Pittsburgh's Pirates are on the road, and they're on the road. They're in San Francisco. So to me, that's an easy play. You're still getting 7.65 points in sport hitters.
Yeah.
So I think it's because of the pitchers in the game, or it's Cueto. But again, listen, the Giants at home are just playing great. They're playing great baseball no matter where they are, but they're even better at home. And the Pirates, we've been talking about this, are already in talks. Are you telling me, if I'm a Pirates fan, if they trade Austin Frazier, I would never watch another game? You have 3 pieces to build a decent team around in a division that you can make a move by spending just a little bit of money and be at the top of the division next year with these 3 pieces. And they're talking about trading Austin Frazier. That's a crime. So San Francisco Giants at home. I like the Astros at home against the Rangers. The Rangers lost 10 in a row. Astros are at home.
That's a good bet. I like that one too.
I like the Astros, and you're still getting 7.5 points. Again, that's decent points. It's when you start getting down in the 6s that I kind of veer away from, but 7.5 is good. The tough one was the White Sox. So the White Sox have my man Giolito on the mound. They're in Milwaukee. Milwaukee hasn't played good the last couple of games, but I'm taking the White Sox. I like what they're doing. I'd like to see a good game out of Giolito. But they're sitting atop of that division. They're playing better. They're 7-3 in their last 10 games.
Yeah.
So over the last 10, they're playing good baseball. And you're getting 10.85 points. And I love that value.
Battle of 2 first-place teams there. That should be a good one. And I got to tell you, I do like the San Francisco bet over Pittsburgh. I think that's my pick of the day, actually. I know you're going to go there next.
But, I am. All right, Kelly, let's roll. Let's roll. Take the money and run.
Get the money and run.
Yeah,
All
so
right.
Johnny Cueto's on the mound tonight for the San Francisco Giants. The line in the casino is -150. Really like San Francisco in that game. I know you picked it in your sport hitter matchups. I like it. I like it as the sportsbook bet of the day.
This is a problem. I've got it at -189 right now, and it's my pick of the day.
Oh, really?
So yeah, the Giants. I've got the Giants at money line at -189. That's my pick of the day. Cueto does always scare me, but he's scared. Listen, in 2021, his 3.8 ERA is actually a pretty good ERA.
Yeah.
If 20 years ago it wouldn't be that great, but this year it's a good ERA. So that's
Right.
my pick of the day. Would be the Giants at -189. Giants at
Yeah.
home. Listen, they're playing great baseball.
South
They're just
Point's
playing great
got the
baseball.
Giants at -175 right now. So
Okay, so there's
yeah.
different places, guys. Look around. So if
Yeah.
that's going to be your play, check out the different places because it can definitely affect your number. And we're 15
Yeah.
cents off in different places there.
I got it at -150 early this morning. So
That would mean somebody is not playing for Pittsburgh or somebody is playing for the Giants. That would signify that Posey's definitely in the lineup, and they might have gotten Crawford or Belt back. Belt was supposed to be back this weekend, so Belt might be back in the lineup this weekend. So that you don't want to check that because that definitely has an effect on this the line. What else do you see today? All right, so you're going to watch the Olympics.
I am.
So I think they already had opening ceremonies, and I think they were no sound. Is that I saw something about a muted opening ceremony. I don't think there's fans in the stands. I heard that they had some fireworks.
I thought it was tonight that it was all on, or is that the network version?
I did see something out, 2 press releases that they had opening ceremonies already. So I don't know.
Uh-huh.
So
Bumped. I look forward to. I like the
social
opening
media. I know
ceremonies.
social media is not really supporting the women's soccer team right now.
No, of course not. Yeah.
Has the basketball team turned it around? I know they lost their first 2 games.
No, yeah, they've actually played well in the rest of the exhibition, and 3 of the guys that played in the finals are joining them in Tokyo. I think they left yesterday, and that's Middleton, Booker, and it might be Holiday.
They're all going. They're going to play.
They're all going to go play, right? And I don't know if you've been following that, but the Olympic basketball teams had some COVID issues. I mean, I know.
I did see 2 or 3 guys pulled out of it because of it.
Kevin Love is out. I know you ranted about Kevin Love being on the team in an earlier
I had no problem with it. I had no problem with it.
He's out now.
Rose that had a problem with it.
Yeah, but he's out. And then there's a few other guys that are that had COVID but are now back. So it's going to be interesting. I was surprised though. There were a lot of guys on that team I've never heard of. Which, what used to be when you went to the Olympics and you saw the American basketball team, you got Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, Michael Jordan, all playing on the same team, right? Where's LeBron James? Where is Zion Williamson? Where is that guard from Utah? What's his name? Mitchell. Where are those guys? Yeah. Why are those guys not on the Olympic team?
It's a good question. It's a good question.
Yeah.
But when's the golf? When is the golf?
I think it all starts like immediately. I think the next week. So I'm excited to watch the Olympics. I'm going to be tuned in.
Where are they playing golf over there? Where's the golf courses they're playing?
Japan's got some spectacular golf courses. The problem is they're landlocked, so they don't have that many. And so the general population, when they want to play golf, they got to go to Hawaii or the Philippines, right? But
are they lengthy courses? Are they smaller courses? I mean, will they be par 72s?
Depends on the course. They're like the United States. They vary, right?
Yeah.
I don't know which courses they're playing on there, but it's going to be. Actually, I've never even seen a round of golf played in Japan, so this is going to be interesting to watch.
Yeah. All right. So anything big this weekend happening? We got no NBA. We got no NHL playoffs. NBA playoffs done. NHL playoffs done. We're a month away from football, and we've got baseball. Some MMA fights. I think there's an MMA fight. Oh, you know what? TJ Dillashaw's back this weekend. And he's coming back after being suspended for he was suspended for steroids, performance enhancings. And his fight, I think, is tomorrow night. Yeah, Dillashaw against Sandhagen. That should be a good one. Who else
what's the record on those fighters? What are they?
Dillashaw was the champion. So Dillashaw was the champion, and then he went down in weight. So Dillashaw was the champion in one of the tough divisions, 145 or 135. He then tried to go down to 125, and that's when that Cejudo beat him, and he failed the drug test after Cejudo beat him. He failed a steroid test, EPO. So he's been suspended for 2 years. So he's now coming back. This is his first fight back. He's fighting an up-and-comer in Corey Sandhagen, who has a good winning streak going, who's a tough guy. This is a really interesting fight.
Do we know what the odds are on this fight? What is the line?
Yeah, so Dillashaw is actually the dog at 172. I got him at 172, and Sandhagen is the favorite at minus 195 right now. So it's a decent favorite on Sandhagen. So Dillashaw, I think Dillashaw has a lot to prove. But Dillashaw used to be a guy that was stamina based. In other words, he was always dancing around, kind of like Muhammad Ali. He'd dance around with his hands down. He was always moving around. He'd get in, he'd hit you, and he'd jump back. I think that may have had a lot to do with his EPO stuff that he was doing for his stamina. So I don't know if he's going to change his fighting style. So that's what makes us really interesting, is seeing that fighting style and how this is going to change. It should be a stoppage, though. That it shouldn't go, if that's the main event, it shouldn't go 5 rounds. Someone's getting knocked out in that fight, or someone's getting submitted in that fight. So it should be a good fight.
What night is that? Saturday night?
It's Saturday night.
Okay.
So the rest of the card, I couldn't tell you some of the names. Mickey Gall, who's kind of a journeyman who they promoted really big and then lost a couple fights. He's on the card. He's fighting a guy I've never heard of in Jordan Williams. Looking over the card, I don't see a lot of names on it. It's going to be hard to come back after the Conor McGregor Dustin Poirier event and think it's going to be a big fight. But I anticipate a month from this weekend, I think, is the Logan Paul and Tyrone Woodley fight. So that hype is going to start. Now, we might actually have some stuff in Sport Hitters on that. That's going to be a pretty big event. I think it's actually also that's the Saturday of the first weekend of football, college football. So that August 28th, man, I'm already thinking about August 28th, because that
5 weeks.
That takes us into that 7-month run where we can do whatever, where we just enjoy 18 hours a day of sports, no matter what happens. So it's going to be a lot of fun. All right. Well, listen, not a lot on the agenda this weekend. Let's see how our picks do. Hopefully, I'm going to be honest. This is my first losing week in brackets all year in baseball. I am 1-5 in the first 2 days in my picks. It's the worst week I've had in baseball. I need to bounce back today, come back in strong, start that run. Got to hit 25 in a row, Randy. I know that's not a hope of yours,
okay,
but it's a hope of mine.
I looked up your statement, Michigan versus ASU, and you're right. ASU leads the series 1-0.
Yes.
They've only played one time in their history, which I find amazing.
A big win.
Yeah.
Rose Bowl.
Yeah.
Important game. Still got to hurt. 86.
Yeah.
86 was your time. Weren't you in college in 86?
No, I was out of college in 86. I'm a lot older than I look.
So you were actually able to enjoy getting beat by ASU. You were someplace with a beer watching ASU beat you. That's what you were doing.
Every bowl game Michigan plays is on the road, pal. Every one of them. So just keep that in mind.
Was that? I don't remember that. You had a really good team that year. That wasn't Gerback. You had a really good team that year. We weren't supposed to beat you, and we beat you 13-6.
Was Harbaugh the quarterback in 86?
I think you had a scrambling quarterback. I think that was the year of you had a scrambling quarterback.
Demetrius Brown, maybe? I don't remember who played
anyway,
quarterback in 86.
Well, listen, we're 1-0 there. I'm 40. I'm still have the 42-0. 42-0 challenge against you. I mean, it just, even though it's only one time, we got the ASU game. We got 42-0. I
think I beat you like the drum this week, but that's okay. It's all right.
You had 20. You beat me 20-0. That's not 42-0. Anyway,
okay.
All right. Listen, enjoy babysitting the dogs. Have a good weekend. Good luck in the book tonight, and go Giants. We'll be back.